Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Serenity with Shauna. Um, I would like to preface this video with, first of all, a trigger warning, and second of all, I would like everybody to know that I am well looked after and well taken care of, and I have a large support system made up of my family and my friends, many healthcare professionals, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, and my family doctor. They are all looking after me, so know that I am well taken care of. Um, so as you can tell because of the title of this video, my best friend did indeed save my life. I'll go into more of that, how exactly she saved my life in a little bit. But first of all, I wanted to touch on, if you are struggling right now, know that you are not alone. I had many times dealt with thoughts of suicide and suicidal ideations, and they are no joke, and they are serious, and they should be dealt with in a serious matter, and you deserve to get help and to feel safe in your own body, in your own mind. You deserve all of those things. So please, if you are dealing with these thoughts, reach out to people that you love, that love you, your family, your friends. Reach out to your family doctor. They can help. They can give you resources. I'll put some resources in the description below, and I will also put my Instagram handles in the description below. So if you need anything, please message me. I'd be glad to be there, even just as somebody to listen. Because sometimes that's all that you need, and I know oftentimes I needed that and I didn't have the person that I needed. I didn't have a person to go to that I felt comfortable sharing my dark thoughts with. So just know that you're not alone. I've dealt with them. Maybe not the same kind of thoughts, or maybe they are the same, who knows, but I have dealt with my fair share of suicidal thoughts, and I can do my best to be there for you. So that is my little blurb at the beginning about how to take care of yourself and that I'm here for you. Okay, so to start off, in April of 2021, I went through a breakup, and that was my breaking point, quite literally. I got to the point before my breakup. I was at a point in life where I just life was a blur. There was no reason for me to be living anymore, and it was just not a life worth living. I was constantly depressed. I was constantly having suicidal thoughts. I rarely was able to pull myself out of them. But once this breakup happened, I spiraled, and things got bad really fast. Things got to the point where I couldn't trust myself to be in a room alone, which is a scary thing, and nobody should ever have to go through that. Try not to cry. But luckily enough, I had people who were there for me, and people who were watching over me quite closely and knew that there was something wrong, and that cared for me enough to support me through going to the hospital and through my inpatient psychiatric stay. And one of those people is my best friend, Sarah. Shout out to you, Sarah. You are the reason that I'm filming this video today. I say this because I constantly say to her and to the other people around me, if it wasn't for her saying that if I needed to go to the hospital that she would go with me, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be here today. Because those thoughts and those ideations were so strong, and I had a plan, and I was fully ready to act on it. Which is unfortunate, and I hope that none of you that are watching this, and nobody in the world, I know it's kind of impossible, but I hope nobody has to go through this, because it's scary to feel like you're the only person in the world that is dealing with this. And I can assure you that's not true, because my best friend was going through it, and I was going through it, and we were going through it at the same time, and we pushed through together. So I was off of work one day, and she messaged me saying that she didn't feel comfortable leaving me alone, and that if I needed to go to the hospital, she would go with me and check in with me, because she also needed the help. So she was the reason why I went, because if it wasn't for her offering to go with me, I never would have gone. I would have just tried to suck it up and try to get through it like any other depressive episode that I've had. But this wasn't like any other depressive episode I've had. This was magnified by 1,000, maybe even more. I have had these episodes in the past that were pretty constant, where I had suicidal thoughts just constantly every day, but I didn't have any plans to act on them. So that was the main concern. According to healthcare professionals, that is the main concern, is if you don't have a plan and you don't plan on acting on your thoughts, then you're in the clear, apparently, until you're not. And I got to the point where I was not in the clear, and I needed help desperately, and I had to admit it. I had to power through and realize that life is worth living, and I have so much to live for. And Sarah reminded me of that, and she told me all of the things that I needed to hear, that I wasn't alone, and that she was there for me, and we were able to connect on a really deep level because she was going through the same thing. So I went to the hospital. We checked in together. There's a whole video on our whole process. I will link it below as well. It's on Sarah's channel. So I mainly wanted to make this video because as much as we believe we're in this fight alone, that we have to fight our own demons all by ourselves, even the people closest to us have their own struggles and can connect with us on a deeper level that makes us feel not so alone. I know when I was in the hospital, which I'll probably go into at a later video, that was like the safest place I had ever felt. Like, I couldn't, like, there was nothing there that I could hurt myself or anybody could hurt me. It was the safest place that I had ever been. And we were disconnected from the outside world completely, other than they had landline phones that we were able to use to call people for about 5 minutes at a time. Yeah, so I got to the hospital, I checked in, I saw about 1 trillion people asking me all the same questions, telling them all the same answers. It was a pretty rigorous process, and they don't go easy on you, that's for sure. And Sarah was with me step by step the whole way through. Even though we didn't get to be with each other the whole time, going into the hospital, we were texting each other the whole time and checking in on each other. And then once we got admitted, it was too late in the night, like all the lights were off in the hospital, so it was time for bed. And I was insanely tired and groggy and grumpy and just was put through the ringer, going through a breakup and then having to explain all this to all the people, but then having to justify my feelings because I had already been dealing with suicidal thoughts before. But nobody seemed to really connect the dots. That this wasn't just a situational, I want to die thing. It was a long-term thing that was gradually getting to the point where I was ready to not be alive. And it was hard to explain that to people and to have to justify my feelings and to have to justify everything that I was going through, and that it wasn't just because I had gone through a breakup, but of course I had to tell them that because that's what triggered this episode. Anyways, so moral of the story is that it was a difficult process. So Sarah and I woke up the next morning from the nurse that was coming in to do my blood pressure and my heart rate and my temperature, and take blood, I think, and give me more morning meds. And so I got up. I was scared out of my mind that Sarah wasn't there because I had gone in before her. So I had been admitted before she was, and I had no idea whether or not she was there because they took our phones away, so there was no contact. So I got up and I went and I roamed around the hallways aimlessly looking for a door with her name on it. And I found it, and I was praying to God that it wasn't another Sarah with an H. And then she opened the door and I was there. And it was relieving and comforting and a privilege, quite honestly, to have gone through it with my best friend. Not everybody, practically nobody gets to do that. Everybody that we met while we were in there were there alone, missing their families and missing the outside world, missing the normalcy of the outside world. But I got to do it with my best friend for the most part. I had 3 days there alone because she stayed 4 and I stayed 7. But nonetheless, I am very thankful and privileged to have gone through it with her. And I don't know what I would do without her, quite honestly. And still to this day, I rely on her more than I rely on anybody else. And she's such a bright light in my life, and I am here today because of her. And I just want to say thank you, Sarah. And thank you to everybody else as well that was here, my family, my friends. It was a tough time. It was very tough, and it was hard on other people as well, so I'm sorry for putting other people through that. But I got through it, and I guess that's kind of the message that I want to put out there, is that you can get through it. Whether it means going to the hospital and staying there for 7 days or even longer or shorter, it depends on your needs, but going to the hospital or talking it out with a friend or talking to a therapist or talking to your doctor or anything, it is possible to get through it. And life is worth living. And my favorite thing to say and to listen to is that through the storm, the sun still shines. And I promise you that this is so true. It's something that I will always carry with me. That will always go through my head when I'm in a depressive episode or in a manic episode or whatever it is. I will always remind myself that through the storm, the sun still shines. And the sun will shine again, like it always does. It comes up every day. So I just want you to feel like you're not so alone. No matter what you're going through, even if it's not as extreme as having suicidal thoughts, if you just have just if you have depression, or if you have anxiety, or if you have ADHD, if you have BPD, if you have um, anything at all, or nothing at all, but just individual struggles. We all have our own struggles, we have our own stories, and it's so important to realize that you're not in it alone, because that sense of being alone is what nearly killed me. Um, quite honestly, I had felt alone in my relationship. I had felt alone in all my friendships, in my family. I didn't feel like I had anybody until Sarah. Even though I've been friends with Sarah for a long time, um, the time, like when I knew that it was a ride or die kind of friendship, was the day we went to the hospital, because I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody else, and I'm very thankful. Anyways, so that is my beginning of my trip to the hospital and my best friend who saved me. And I hope you know that you are not alone in anything. And I am here for you always. And I know that you have other people in your life that care about you. And yeah, so thank you for coming and thank you for watching. And I love you guys. Thank you.